Maybe you're in your final year in college, or perhaps you've graduated and you've been working for some time and you're considering an MBA. Now, a lot of people recommend MBA as a good career option because if you get into a good B school, you typically get placed in a senior position with a high salary. But I would say that by itself will not be sufficient motivation because whatever you study in, you're going to work at that for the next few decades. So it's really important for you to figure out if it's something which you like. So go for a technical role if that's what you're interested in, or perhaps pursue a chartered accountancy if accounting is what you really like. An MBA is a great option if you're interested in the business side of things. So if you like finance or marketing, strategy, HR, IT, operations and so on, or perhaps you want to be an entrepreneur, then an MBA would be a good career choice. So let's look at a practical example to understand a little bit more about these roles. So let's take an iPhone for example. Now there's a lot of engineering which goes into the design, the specifications and so on. But even before that, you'd probably have an MBA in strategy or marketing who would ideate the product itself. So what are the key features that Apple wants to highlight? Do they want to talk about the phone being really powerful, perhaps the screen being good, the phone being really light, or maybe they want to highlight the camera? That's what they did some time back, where they ran this campaign and a lot of people shot movies on iPhones, including well-known filmmakers, to highlight how good the camera was. And that was a great marketing strategy. So there would be an MBA grad who would ideate all of this. Now, once the idea is built, that is actually what will translate into the marketing campaign later. But before that, we'll have an MBA in finance who would analyze the project and see if it's viable. What I mean by that is, the MBA in finance would probably look at the costs of manufacturing the iPhone and then estimate the sales. They look at the past sales of the previous generation iPhones. They'd also look at the economy and so on and predict what the sales would be and what the revenue numbers would be. Once they have those, they'll be able to figure out if it is going to be profitable to come up with a new iPhone altogether. Now, in a company like Apple has a lot of money to invest in the iPhone. But if it's a smaller company or perhaps a startup, an MBA in finance could also look at bank loans or maybe even raising investor funds to fund this entire thing. Now let's assume that the MBA in finance is given the green signal. And that is where the engineers would step in to design and ideate and come out with the entire iPhone and the engineering specs. But once that is done, you'd have an MBA in operations who would step in. So the operations MBAs would ensure that the factory is running smoothly, the production is efficient, and they would also look at the global supply chain. So if an iPhone is being manufactured by Foxconn here in India, there could be a lot of raw materials which are bought from a lot of different companies in India or let's say in China or multiple other places as well. So you have the global supply chain to look at. In addition, it could also happen that Foxconn manufactures the iPhone centrally in China or India and then it's exported to multiple other countries. At the same time, you'll also not be manufacturing the same number of iPhones every month. A lot of iPhones and other electronics products are bought in the festive season. So the sales in November or December could be 2 to 3 times or maybe even 10 times of what's there in Feb or March. And you don't want to pay and manufacture and store a phone in June if it's going to be sold in December. So an MBA in operations would also optimize all of this. Now once it is done, the MBAs in sales and marketing would again step in. The marketing strategy, advertising, what are the channels by which they are sold, whether it is iPhone stores or is it being sold online directly by Apple or perhaps through Amazon or some other third parties, what are the strategy going to be, what are the ad campaigns. All of these would be run by the MBA in marketing and sales, and they would also ensure that a lot of sales do occur so that it's profitable for Apple. Now alongside all of these, you'll also have another important role which is an MBA in HR. It would be the MBAs in HR who are responsible to hire all the employees at Apple, ensure that the work culture is good and ensure that people are happy working over here. A lot of people look at HR as a soft option, but you look at XLRI for instance. The B School's name used to be Xavier Labor Relations Institute, and that means that it was set up to help people to learn all the labor policies and negotiate with unions and the labor force, something which is an extremely stressful and demanding role. In addition, India is a country where services makes up most of our economy and services is delivered by people. So managing the people, hiring the right people, ensuring that the work culture is such that there's meritocracy and people are happy working over here, people are trained and promoted and so on, is all the responsibility of an HR professional. And that's where an MBA in HR steps in. Now, these are some of the core functions. There are many others I have not touched upon: banking, consulting, and so on, for instance. But if any of these sound interesting to you, then an MBA is the right path for you. So if you're interested in this, stay tuned, because in the next video tomorrow, I'm going to talk about what are the different B schools where you can pursue an MBA, and some of which are especially known for one particular function, and what are the different exams that you need to take. So definitely please consider subscribing and turn on the notifications so that you get to know when that video comes up.